Hi everyone, a pleasure as always here on a Friday doing the roundup where we recap the biggest news that has happened this week in regards to the crypto markets, and we do have some beauties. There is nothing bigger than what the Fed is coming out and saying these days, and it moves markets. So let's crack straight in and also share with you some other things and also a tool that we use with our advanced clients and also with our VIP clients to give you a bit of a head start on maybe a crypto that's about to move. So that's really exciting. So I'll get into that in a sec. But yes, the biggest news of this week was 2 days ago when the US Federal Reserve came in with expectations. So they announced a third rise of 0.75%. So that is the third one in a row. Now, again, markets were prepared for this, but I think everyone's starting to get a little bit uneasy in terms of what we're seeing with the surging US dollar. So raising interest rates will push the dollar higher, which is what we're seeing. But we are seeing, because of that dollar, it is starting to really impact emerging markets, and their economies are really on shaky ground. They're selling US treasuries to get their hands on dollars, which is, of course, making the dollar go higher as well. And the dollar starts to act like a wrecking ball. And we're going to start to see insolvencies in a lot of emerging markets. So that's emerging nations. We saw it in Sri Lanka. We're going to start to see it in a few other larger nations. So what the Fed is doing has a direct impact on the rest of the world and also in the United States. And their mandate now, and I was listening to Jerome Powell with what he's saying, they want to just attack inflation as hard as possible. They're going to go until something breaks. And when something breaks, that means when, let's say, the credit market or the bond market starts to freeze up, which is going to happen eventually because these bonds and these yields are just screaming out of control, and there's just not enough liquidity being pumped out there in the market. Now, I'm getting into some more advanced themes and topics here, but just suffice to say, this is not sustainable. They are going to move hard and fast until they break something. Probably going to raise next month as well. And now, getting back to their mandate, essentially what Jerome Powell is saying is they're going to have to put people out of work. They're going to have to bring wages back down to really curb this inflation. When we're all sort of across that inflation's really not born from a lot of that. It's more born out of supply chain issues, what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, a lot of other issues when they printed, $5 to $7 trillion off the top of my head. I can't remember exactly how much it was in 2020. That all is coming home to roost. So they're looking to really get on top of this, like Volcker, I guess, in the 1980s. And it's just not possible with the amount of debt to GDP out there. So something is going to break. It's going to break pretty soon. And we saw that overnight with Japan having to intervene with their own currency. So this, in a nutshell, risk markets like crypto and stocks do not like it when the Federal Reserve is tightening monetary policy. And that's what they're going to do a lot harder and faster, which is why we're seeing Bitcoin, why we're seeing equities down at these low ebbs, trying to find, I don't want to say bottoms. Bitcoin, you could argue that has found a bottom, but it is still trying to find a bottom. And there's every chance Bitcoin does go lower than that June low, 17,500, if something breaks in the market, which seems to be happening. So just keep that in your mind. This is something we discuss in detail, and I've gone probably a bit too much in detail here today with you, but it's what we discuss with our mastermind clients at the advanced level, because this stuff, this macro knowledge will allow you to see around corners and will allow you to be forward thinking and really position yourself for the next phase. Because right now, if you go on Twitter, Facebook, everyone's screaming bear market, doom and gloom, macro hell, but not a lot of people actually truly understand how the dominoes will likely fall. And of course, I don't know 100% either, but we do study this in depth, and we're giving you our insights about what's coming. So that's how I see it. That's how we see it. Pay attention to how the Federal Reserve operates from here on in, because their job is going to get a hell of a lot harder as they begin to try and throw the US into an early recession. Okay, now Cardano is moving as well as Algorand. So Cardano had the really anticipated Vasil upgrade happen. It started a 5-day process, from what I believe, 5-day, because Cardano Vasil hard fork process begins today. Yep, so that's really big news for Cardano. It would allow ADA to scale, bringing them in line with a lot of other cryptos. So that's big news for Cardano. We've seen the price of it move higher. So yeah, I know a lot of clients and also non-clients are fans of Cardano. They're invested in ADA. So this is really big to stay on top of. When a project is showing progress and it's moving through its roadmap, that's a really positive thing, especially in a bear market. This is when you see a lot of projects either completely flounder or flourish, because you can see that they're still moving forward, they're still building, they've got new developers coming in, new capital. This is what you want to see. So this is a real positive for Cardano. It'll be very interesting to watch the chart as it goes. All right, this was really interesting. Now, I won't play the clip because it goes for 2 minutes. But this is Jamie Dimon. He's the CEO of JP Chase, so the largest bank in the world. Now, historically, he has not liked Bitcoin whatsoever. But in this, he's in the oversight of US banks, so the Senate committee, I believe it's Congress or Senate, one of those. And he's being asked by a few quite knowledgeable senators or congressmen about Bitcoin and blockchain and why it's so important and why banks should really embrace this movement. Now, JP Dimon has said in this that he considers blockchain DeFi a thing, but he thinks Bitcoin is just a decentralized Ponzi scheme. So that is really interesting. And what I said in the teaser for this video was it is a bit hypocritical because, again, he's the CEO of JP Chase, and guess what they're offering their their institutional grade clients. So that's what I would call, quote unquote, the smart money. They're being offered Bitcoin, Ethereum, and crypto. So their clients are demanding it. They offer it, but here he's coming out and saying they're Ponzi schemes. So is that an admission that he is, peddling to his clients Ponzi schemes? I don't know. I think maybe he needs to think a bit more about this, because it's funny. They say one thing, but behind the scenes, you really got to pay attention to what they do and not what they say. Because JP Chase for years have been saying, Bitcoin's dead, it's a nothing thing, it's a fad. Meanwhile, they're building their own JP Morgan coin, they're allowing it to be bought by institutional clients, setting up trading desks, all that. So yes, with banks, you have to watch what they do and not what they say, because normally when they come out quite bullish behind something, it means they've set everything up and positioned themselves for a run. All right, this is just interesting. I won't go too much into this. It'll be more for the masterminds. But Russian Central Bank and Ministry of Finance agree on a draft bill use of Bitcoin and crypto in international trade. Now, this is for Russia. So this is an interesting point with the West being not too happy with Russia at the moment, probably for good reason. They're going to look towards Bitcoin and crypto to avoid the US dollar, the petrodollar, the standard, and they're going to try and use it for their international trade, for energy and whatnot, let's say through China, let's say through India and elsewhere. Because they're off the SWIFT system. So they're looking for, let's say, innovative ways to get around that. This does throw up the risk that has always sort of been in the background, the regulatory risks with the US, let's say, if they begin to see, and if Europe begins to see that Russia is circumventing sanctions by using crypto, then we have to assume that the regulatory ire is going to come very hard on the industry. All right, Algorand, as we discussed earlier, this with Cardano has been moving quite well. And in bear markets, it's really important to understand why these things are moving, because you can position yourself for either short-term plays or also for longer-term plays based on what you're seeing building and happening in the bear market. Now, Algorand surges 23% following hiring of former comms head at Visa Fidelity. Now, these articles are very interesting because they try and attribute, causation, with something moving with a, let's say, an event. I don't think it was actually this here. I think it was more that Algorand had a network upgrade, and it's also trying some cross-chain liquidity bridges and things like that behind the scenes. I think it's more to do with that, the upgrade, than it would be with them hiring the former comms head at Visa. It could be this, sure, but no one will actually ever know. I don't think this is that big of a deal. I mean, it's a good get for Algorand, former comms head at Visa Fidelity, but I don't think it's moving market 23%. I think it's more based on that technical aspect, which traders are looking to move in on. So very, very interesting. And that really leads me onto this. So this is a tool that we use with our premium clients called CoinMarket Calendar. And it allows you to see events before they happen in the crypto space. So for instance, the Algorand upgrade and also the Cardano Vasil hard fork, if you're not constantly researching these cryptos, you're not invested in them, you likely won't know about that. You likely won't know any of those upcoming fundamental catalysts that could move the market. And you could be looking to set up a long-term investment position by buying or here and there, or DCA, or buying corrections. But then suddenly the market moves in one direction and you don't understand why. And it's so important to be across it. And this is so, so helpful. So this, again, will tell you any upcoming catalysts, network upgrades, let's say big events where there's a meeting, a conference that things might get announced at. So super, super useful. And you can type in, top 100 coins over a date range, upcoming events. And you'd be very, very surprised in a market like crypto how much different coins move just based on certain fundamental catalysts in here. Even if it's nothing, in bear markets, there's a lot of money just looking for moves. And that's where a lot of these short-term moves can come from here. And when you're more in bull market phases, these events can really move the market really, really hard. In bear markets, it's more of a short-term move, or the longer term, you can see, let's say Cardano, if this is a real positive move over the roadmap, and for the longer term, then you likely do see the market begin to move. And if you have orders below, they may not get filled because the market's thinking, all right, well, here's probably a good short-term bottom here. We're going to move higher based on this fundamental news. This is a really great piece of information and a great tool to use. But again, I'd use it in conjunction with our teachings in the course. Okay, and just finally, guys, I just want to highlight one of our testimonials, and they've been coming through thick and fast. Absolutely fantastic. So this is Leah Bolton. She's actually become one of our valued mastermind clients as well. So she finished the VIP course. I just wanted to highlight it. So she gave us 5 stars. Just do it. This was the most enjoyable learning experience of my life. The go at your own pace let me revise the work before I continued. The webinars were filled with information, well explained, extremely helpful. Highly recommended. So really thank you, Leah, for that wonderful testimonial. So if you're sitting on the fence, you're in our free group, or you're just outside at the moment, looking in, wanting to know more about our education sphere, this gives you a really good picture. And check out our Trustpilot reviews. Most of them are absolutely fantastic. In fact, we've really only got one down here. It hasn't been fantastic, so that's really, really good. And I would encourage you to read that poor review as well, just to get an idea about maybe what the issues were around that. So yeah, this was absolutely fantastic. And like I said, she moved through the VIP course and then is now in the Advanced Mastermind course and is absolutely loving it. So I wanted to highlight that. If you're interested in becoming a client, make sure to reach out to our team on the link below, and we're more than happy to have a chat. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed the Friday Roundup. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to leave that down below for me and the team, and we'll get back to you on that. So have a wonderful day and weekend. Bye.